Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Thunderbolts live spoiler discussion here on the Movie Nights channel. I am Dalton Burdett with the amazing Nick Aricchio. Nick, how are you, my friend?
I am feeling I'm not going to do Thunderific again,
No.
so we're not going to go for that. I'm doing good. How about
Are,
that?
are you feeling new?
I'm feeling a little new. I'm feeling avengeful, to be
There you
honest.
go. There you go, guys. If the title or what we've already just said doesn't give it away, this is clearly going to be a full spoiler discussion of Thunderbolts, the latest film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And if you're watching, if you're new here, first of all, welcome. Secondly, if you chat with us in the live chat, we'll happily bring your comment up on screen and we'll go back and forth. We'd like to turn this into a little bit of a community here. And if you feel so inclined to send us a super chat, you don't have to, of course. But if you feel so inclined, we will prioritize your questions and get to yours first. We just love talking movies. We love doing this stuff. Of course, we want to talk about the Thunderbolts, a.k.a. the new Avengers, which when they started doing the whole shtick with the asterisks, we figured something else was coming. And, a lot of people thought it was going to be Dark Avengers just based on the comic book and everything, but that always just seemed like, for a movie audience, a weird choice. But the new Avengers, I like it. I dug it. I already enjoy the fact that they're setting up that, like, Sam Wilson is going to look at Bucky and be like, you're on a team with fucking John Walker, dude? What the fuck, man? Like, that's clearly going to be a point of contention in Doomsday.
Just to hear Red Guardian call Captain America a litigious bastard is just great stuff coming out of the MCU. My theory was going to be that I thought that it was going to be the Thunderbolts with the asterisk to, like, kind of be like a footnote of, like, the 2025 team consisted of John Walker, Ghost, and, like, maybe the Thunderbolts come back, like, similar to Suicide Squad, right? Maybe they come back in a new form. And then that footnote's like, but that's not specific to a group of people,
Yeah. And with that theory, you could have also made the argument like, oh, they can bring back some of like the comic book Thunderbolts like Baron Zemo and all that stuff. But anyway, guys, this is going to be really scatterbrained, our live spoiler discussion. Like I said, feel free to put things in the chat. We'll happily discuss it with you, put it on the screen. Let's just dive into spoilers. Again, this is going to be scatterbrained. All right, let's talk about when they just shot Taskmaster in the fucking head. So we knew, like everybody knew that Taskmaster was done, like from the marketing, just because when they did include her, it was barely, and there are even some trailers that didn't include her at all. It's like, all right, so she's not in it very long, something's got to happen, right? And, I get it, and I don't. Where I get it is, like, you got to keep the viewers on their toes for, what it's going to be like, are the stakes high, are people safe? And, so you have to do something in the beginning to, like, make people think, like, oh, they aren't safe, so you have to kill a character. But at the same time, with where they ended Black Widow of, like, liberating her and just kind of Marvel kind of giving the promise of, like, we know we didn't do the character justice last time, but don't worry, they're coming back, and then just boom.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's kind of the flip, right? Because one, I think it's funny because everyone was speculating, right? Especially given, like, the whole Bob Century side of everything. So everyone was like, oh my God, Taskmaster's death is going to be, like, brutal. Like, that's going to be the, oh, fuck, we can't fuck around with Century moment. And then just for it to be just a bullet, just boom, like that.
Yeah. And
then, it felt like there was some math going on, right? Where they're like, well, we need them all going up against, someone individually to make it fair. Like, it didn't feel like, I feel like there was another way to write around it if that's where you wanted to go with Taskmaster.
Yeah, especially, like, having Ghost do it was just odd because, like, they bring it up kind of, and Yelena, like, defends her a little bit, but then they kind of move on. The only thing I did like is Yelena saying, like, when Ghost asks about her, Yelena said she was a bad person who did bad things, and then she was killed, just like it's going to happen to us one day. And I was like, all right, that kind of sets the tone a little bit, but still, I do agree. It could have been done better, but I don't hate it. Like, it didn't, like, take me out of the movie or anything.
I just think it's unfortunate, though, because I do feel like there's a bit of a missed opportunity from a comedic standpoint if, like, Taskmaster was just that silent type like she was in Black Widow. Like, obviously, she has some dialogue here and there, but in Black Widow, she was really kind of silent from my recollection. So I feel like there could have been a lot of fun banter, especially, like, with Walker or something being like, and she gets it, and, like, it's just Taskmaster. Like, literally just the joke is Taskmaster's just standing in the background the whole time. Like, just not interacting with anyone.
No, what would have been great is if she didn't say a word the whole movie, and Walker, like, keeps making a point of that. Like, you got anything to say? And then at the end when they see the void and he like zits people, Taskmaster just goes, "Yo, what the fuck?"
But I think the Taskmaster thing, it kind of reminds me a bit, in a way, not as good, I'll say that right outright, of like Weasel in
Oh, yeah.
Suicide Squad, where I'm like,
Mhm.
man, I know this character's not making it to the end. Little did I know.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh man, we're gonna see some like messed up stuff of this like Weasel just going feral on some poor like henchman, and then just having him drown immediately. Like the comedic timing of it is absolutely beautiful. And it felt very similar to Taskmaster, just like, oh, and nope, just bullet to the head. That's it. Next scene.
We have Turnip Head in the live chat saying, movie nights on a Sunday night? Yes, of course, we have to do the spoiler discussion. We wanted to give people enough time to see the movie, and we have the main show tomorrow, so hence Sunday night. And then they also add, Taskmaster can never catch a freaking break. Clearly, the only thing they can catch is bullets to the fucking face, dude. So that's where we're at there.
Well, I know that, though, but there is a lot of potential moving forward, because the Taskmaster in the comics is actually Tony Masters, I believe is the actual name, so, and I believe Taskmaster has been a mantle that people have passed on. So now that this Taskmaster is dead, I think there is opportunity for that to come back, in a different way, especially if like they want to move forward with like a Yelena solo movie. I think having that introduction could be a fun like dynamic there.
Yeah, anything's possible in the Marvel Universe, but the last thing I want to say before we move on from Taskmaster is, in my head canon, the joke reason why they killed Taskmaster is because they were talking to the whole team about the different people, and like the stunt coordinators there, and they're like, all right, I got to do these different fighting styles. Who do you got for me? And they're like, we have Taskmaster, whose ability is they can copy and match any fighting style. And the stunt person's like, I don't get fucking paid enough to have her copy all these fucking styles, man.
And then sitting there going, and we fucked it up the first time, so we're gonna be extra hard on this.
Yeah, exactly. He slides a 20 to the to the EP, and it's like, hey, maybe Taskmaster just gets fucking shot. Maybe we can make something about that. But anyway, moving on from Taskmaster, let's talk about Sentry. Something that I thought was interesting is I was at Comic-Con in 2024, and I got to see like the first footage of Thunderbolts, like when they were dropping it, and I which was very cool. But it was one of those things where like everyone knew that Sentry was in the movie, like. The Deadline did articles like it was going to be Steven Yeun, and then Steven Yeun dropped out. Now it's Louis Pullman, and like even in the articles, like, oh, they're playing the character of Sentry. Like it's not like it was technically Marvel never announced it, but then at Comic-Con when we got the footage, I'm like, yo, we're about to get that like he's Sentry, because like they had just showed us Captain America 4 footage where they said adamantium, then they did Thunderbolts, and then they revealed Fantastic Four, and then did the Doomsday thing. But like I'm like, yo, they're gonna tell us that like it's Sentry, and they did the whole trailer and didn't do it. And then later I went to like a live podcast recording for Phase Zero, and I brought up like in the crowd, I was like, why do you think they're not like telling us it's Sentry? Which it was just an odd thing. And then one of the co-hosts brought up, they were like, how crazy is the world we live in that the character they're hiding is the fucking Sentry? Like what a insane thing. But I see why they did it, and it's because they wanted to stick to the Bob bit, and it just goes to show you that like that begins with marketing, like by not revealing he's Sentry. Because if you do it even once, like that bit is dead. And of course they show like the void and stuff in the trailer, and if you're a fan, you understand. But like for the general audience, like just calling him be Bob, it was just the way to do it. And I thought Louis Pullman did an excellent job in the movie. I've always liked him as an actor. He was great in Top Gun 2. He's fucking phenomenal in Bad Times at the El Royale. I fucking love that movie, and he's so good in it. And I thought he did a really great job. I thought him and Yelena's chemistry was really excellent. Like, I really liked their dynamic, especially the second time I watched it. I really paid attention to that more. And I personally love the ending of him, it being a metaphor for he's gonna kill himself, and they save him from doing so, and the world being saved was consequential to that. Like, that wasn't the main concern. In our regular review for Thunderbolts, which by the way you can go find on the channel, I mentioned like there are gonna be people who don't like that third act choice, but I loved it, and I stand by that. And one of the best moments in both screenings is when that little girl gets voided.
Oh my god,
it's so good.
voided.
That's what I'm calling
the
it.
phrase
That's what I'm
now?
calling it.
Oh, I
But
like it. I like it better than blipped.
yeah, before I hand it over to you,
Yeah.
Jeffrey Miller in the live chat says "LOL true," and he also says kudos to the stunts. 100%, 100%.
Honestly, the stunt work, I was very, obviously
The
we're not
action was
talking
great.
yeah, we're not talking John Wick levels of stunt choreography and everything, and I would even go so far as to say it's not even Shang-Chi level of that, but I was pleasantly surprised. I enjoyed it. It felt clean. It felt like I knew everything that was happening, so
Hmm.
it didn't feel like that slot, and just the appreciation for the practical stunts, Florence Pugh jumped off that second tallest building in the world, I think they did the actual limo flip from my understanding. I saw a
Hmm.
bunch of the director on Instagram or TikTok has like a great behind the scenes like reel of like POV you're shooting a Marvel movie practically. So that and I think that it's a testament to Marvel's marketing. I think that they did a
Yeah.
great job like marketing that we're trying like hey, we understand the critiques. We're trying and I think that that worked to their advantage. Especially that like I call it the A24 trailer where
Hmm.
they're like, "Look, the cinematographer worked on something good. The music director did something good,"
Hmm.
So I thought it was very interesting an interesting take. I saw some more chats if you wanted before I go to Sentry.
Yeah, of course. Jeffrey
Yeah.
Miller also adds Louis Pullman and Wyatt Russell are Nepo babies, and watching their interviews, they are pretty down to earth and genuine. I 100% agree with you. Louis Pullman being the son of Bill Pullman, Wyatt Russell being the son of Kurt Russell. And, you can run the risk of being very arrogant being like a Nepo baby in the business, but we've seen people kind of like Jack Quaid and like these two, Louis and Wyatt Russell, who have a very good understanding of where they come from and the opportunities they've had, but they use that to, they still try to earn work for themselves, and that you can tell that they care about the work, they care about the craft, and they're not taking this opportunity that they've been given lightly. I fully agree with you. And Hannah adds in the live chat, I love Steven Yeun and would be interested to see his version, but I also like Louis Pullman more. I feel like I would have been more distracted by Steven Yeun's star power, and Bob wouldn't have been so quirky. That's potentially true. That's potentially very true. I know that Steven Yeun is obviously more of a household name than Louis Pullman, so you have a point there. You definitely have a point there. But Nick,
Yeah, but I thought Steven Yeun did an excellent job kind of being quirky in Mickey 17. He was in earlier
that's
this
true.
year.
That's true.
I thought he played that well, but I think I feel like I don't really have a lot of familiarity with Louis Pullman, and I think this role had a lot of comedic elements, and I haven't really seen Steven Yeun do like comedy
Hmm.
and physical comedy kind of the way that Louis Pullman was. So I think that kind of would have been maybe a little bit more like I would say Steven Yeun's a fantastic actor. I think he can do the quirkiness of it. It was the comedy of it where I would have been maybe like, I don't know, we'll see what happens.
I just had a moment of realization, Nick.
Huh.
I bet you Steven Yen had to drop out because the strikes delayed to where he had to go film Mickey 17.
Oh, that would make sense.
That makes
I
sense.
could
I bet
I
that's
could
what
see
happened.
that.
Yeah. But anyway, your thoughts on Sentry?
Yeah, no, I thought well, one, I thought Bob was a great comedic element to the movie, and I think starting off that way and then having you work into that void esque and the century, and as the story is sort of developing, you're getting these sort of like, oh, he was a meth addict, oh, he has delusions of grandeur, and how that all plays into the actual dichotomy of Sentry and the Void. I
Mm-hmm.
thought that it was a very compelling storyline, and just the talk and the storylines surrounding sort of mental illnesses as well as depression and the themes of redemption. While I even said in the review, it's a Marvel movie, it's four quadrant, right? We're going to keep it kind of surface level. I did still feel the emotional deep impact. Like I did feel sympathy for all of these characters. I did
Mm-hmm.
think that it told a compelling story in that regard. I thought the Sentry fight scene was really fun, watching them
Yes.
all like try to struggle to realize that. But then immediately that flip of he's like, I don't need to kill them. They're not a threat to me.
Yes. Yes.
And then immediately the kill switch happening and then the void actually taking over. I love the way that they shot the void being that
Mm-hmm.
sort of silhouette. I thought that was a really fun character design. And just the way that sort of plays because at the end of the day, like you said, right, Bob needs to be the one to save himself
Mm-hmm.
in that regard, and the Thunderbolts, were there to assist in that. and that was part of it. And they cared for him enough, and me as an audience, I cared enough for Bob that I
Mhm.
wanted to see that, succeed. And I really love the way that the fight scene in the void was filmed at the end, the quote unquote group hug,
Mhm.
which I thought was very interesting for a number of reasons. Because one, right, you see that darkness, that void taking over, and Yelena runs up, and Yelena is the one actually hugging him.
Mhm.
And then everyone else is just trying to rip off the sentry powered level off of him. And I just
Mhm.
thought the way that it was filmed with that, a lot of people were ragging online, calling it a group hug, which I get it.
Mhm.
But Yelena was really, I think, I saw it as the only one hugging her, and everyone else was just yanking
Mhm.
him off. And also Guardians ended with a dance off. Why can't we have a hug?
Yeah, exactly. And like with the themes of the movie too, like and the relationship they built with Yelena and Bob, like
Yeah.
if she wouldn't have hugged him, it would have been weird. Like honestly to me. And um
But the void of visuals, I thought,
yeah,
like the people flatting and it taking over New York, I thought that was really cool. But mainly
yes.
just his design, I thought the void was really good, and I liked the Sentry design for a number of reasons as well.
Mhm.
Because I think it's funny because Marvel is now, especially with Thunderbolts and the way it ends, right? Them being the corporate new Avengers,
Mhm.
it's kind of turning into a boys type scenario.
Mhm.
But the boys was just actually making fun of superhero movies in
Yeah.
that regard. So I think it's funny to see that kind of come full circle. And I love I kind of took it as an in joke because people always talk about the over designed MCU suits and outfits. So I thought it was funny that the Sentry suit was like over designed with purpose.
Yeah.
Like it felt
Yeah.
like oh yeah, of course like the corporate people are gonna make it a over the top design. So I thought that was good.
A couple things I want to point out in the live chat. Kylixer is here, and he says the hug was cheesy in all caps, and he follows up, the dance-off didn't play cheesy. I would actually argue the opposite. I think the dance-off played incredibly cheesy, and I didn't think the hug played off cheesy at all. Especially considering the dance-off was kind of a joke out of nowhere, and the hug, like when Yelena was running towards him, when I first watched it, like in my head, I'm like, oh, she's gonna hug him. Like that's what I thought was gonna happen, and it's exactly what happened. Now, granted, I completely understand how it can be interpreted as cheesy, and same for the dance off being not cheesy, but in my mind, that doesn't make either ending the wrong one. Like, yes, I think the dance off at the end of Guardians is cheesy, but it quickly also turns it around to the moment where they all have to take hands and hold the orb together. And in this, the hug starts as just like a, stop from hurting yourself, like we're here for you. And then the other one's coming in to literally rip him off of himself. And, you kind of got the two sides of love. You got the I'm here for you versus the I'm literally saving you. Like, get out of here.
Yeah, I think it would have played more cheesy if they all actually were running up to hug him
Mm-hmm.
versus like it just being shot to look like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Like
like,
if they had all hugged, I would have been like, all right, that's
it
a bit much.
reminded me of the Amazing Spider-Man 2 when the web becomes the hand, like to reach out and grab um, Gwen. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's symbolic of what's going on. And like, I don't love that movie, but even people who don't love that movie would tell you that whole sequence is excellent. It's a great sequence. Some more stuff in the live chat here. Morgan Bernard says, love the hug. Also thought the dyeing of the hair was funny. I agree. I'm glad that they addressed it because if they wouldn't
Yeah.
have said anything, it would have bothered me. Jeffrey Miller
That
adds,
was the one time that I wish Steven Yeun was in the movie because I wanted to see him with long, slick back blonde hair.
yes, 100%. Jeffrey Miller adds, the dance-off looks too impromptu. Good point on the holding hands. Thank you. So I want to talk about who I think the MVP of the movie was. I think the MVP of the movie was David Harbour as the Red Guardian. This is a character that each time they've been announced in a movie, I've just been not like negative, but just like, oh, okay. Like when I saw the trailers for Black Widow and he was in the trailers, I'm like, I think this character's going to annoy me. And then I watched Black Widow and the movie's whatever, it's fine. But I enjoyed him. I was like, oh, he was good. Like I liked him. He was funny and, heartwarming. And then I saw Red Guardian was going to be in this. And I was like, man, I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know how he's going to be used. I thought not only was he used perfectly, but for a character and an actor, and this is why I want to give David Harbour props here, as an actor, to be the comedic relief of a film and also have to balance that with the most deep emotional sequence in the film. Really 1.5 times, because there's some in the beginning too. But dude, that sequence with him and Florence Pugh at the end in the streets of New York, dude, I almost cried both times. And yes, it's mostly because Florence Pugh's an incredible actor. But David Harbour, man, like there's a part when she's doing her whole thing and just saying like how alone she is, and it cuts back to him and he doesn't know, like literally his face. He didn't say a word, but what I got from his face was, I need to comfort her, but I don't know what to say. And like he almost goes to shush her, but realizes like, oh, that's a mistake, and like pulls it off. Like it was such a nuanced performance. And on the comedic side, dude, he was fucking hilarious. Like when he drives the limo across the country and gets out of the car and says, Yelena, don't go in the vault. It's your dad. Like I was dying laughing. And then you have, of course, just like when he thinks Yelena died from the void, like there's genuine, like he's devastated. Like the balancing act of having to do that, both from a screenplay perspective, tonally, and a performance-wise, to where we believe you both times. Because the thing that's hard with that character is you have to believe that he's funny, but you also have to believe that that's what he means. Like he's not being purposely funny. Like when he says your insubordinates will be reported to DoorDash HQ, he's not making a joke. Like that's exactly what that character would say, and that's why it's funny. And you also have to take that and believe that he would be like he deeply cares about Yelena. And the line's in the trailer, but when he says like, when I look at you, I don't see your mistakes, it's such a great line. And when he talks about like the Thunderbolts soccer team, and he's like, you wanted to be the goalie because you said that you wanted people to rely on you if they made a mistake. Like it's like that, like what, I have a theory about Doomsday, Nicholas. I think Doom's gonna fucking kill the Red Guardian, and it's gonna make me really fucking sad. It's gonna make me really fucking sad when Doctor Doom kills the Red Guardian, and when Yelena's gonna see it happen. It's gonna be horrible. It's gonna be fucking horrible. Don't do it. Please don't do it. Before I throw it over to you, Hannah in the live chat says the humor in past Marvel movies has been all caps so bad they finally felt like David Harbour had real stuff to work with for the script. I wouldn't go as far as to say the humor has been so bad, but like I get what you mean. The Marvel humor, it's been a common thing of criticism in the past. But again, I think the balancing act that they did with everything was great. There's one more live chat I want to get to that just came in. But Nick, before I do that, thoughts on Red Guardian and David Harbour?
Yeah, no, I mean, MVP. I don't know. I would say maybe I was one of the more entertained by him. He was probably one of the standouts of the movie to me. I would say MVP is definitely like Yelena and Sentry. I thought that they anchored that movie so well. In terms of the humor, I did felt like a lot of the Marvel humor that Hannah may be referring to, right, is from that David Harbour, right? Like the misplaced, like it's the joke for the sake of a joke. But I feel like a lot of times also you immediately don't get that flip of like there's normally one comedic character, right? Like if you look at like your like Aquafina in Shang-Chi, if you look at like Ned in any of the Spider-Man movies, but they kind of never get that flip of having that serious, sincere moment, which is what Red Guardian got. And I think that's sort of what rounds it out, is like you can't really just brush him off as being the joke character because they're giving him a lot more to do with it. And I think that also a lot of his performance too is based off of that dynamic and relationship with Yelena. Because to me, some of the funniest jokes, like I thought one of the funniest jokes in the movie personally was Yelena and David Harbour, Yelena and Red Guardian arguing about who sponsored the Pee Wee soccer team.
Yeah.
So like I feel like, and it was like that dynamic of like they have that history of that, whatever version of a father-daughter story you want to say it is. And the idea and the performance of like, maybe dads do tend to struggle, right, with that, and him just saying like, I just didn't think you wanted me there, and him taking that on himself to retract and then finally being there and being able to know like, yes, I would always have been there for you, kind of thing. So I thought that his standout was in that. I thought that emotional scene just on the random street in New York, I thought was such a nice moment. And then seeing them actually go in action together, him doing like the flip kick with her, so I thought that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, 100%. Some stuff in the chat I want to get to. Morgan Bernard says MVP Julia Louis-Dreyfus. There you
In
go.
everything, in every goddamn thing she touches.
There you go. And Hannah Heiler says Florence Pugh MVP. Of course, of course. What's it called? I'm not going to get political on the show. I'm going to drop it after this. But dude, I just saw an amazing thing on Twitter that said, "Listen, I didn't think they had much of an actor, but I thought Tulsi Gabbard killed it in Thunderbolts, and it made me laugh really hard." But anyway, another thing, let's talk a little bit about Sebastian Stan.
Bucky?
Yes, Bucky. I really, really liked him in the film, and it's mostly for, a plethora of reasons. One, just from a filmmaking standpoint. If you're going to make a movie about a ragtag team of people, and you're in a position where you're not in prime phase 2, phase 3, where you have the goodwill of the audience, you kind of have to earn the audience's will back. I think having Bucky be in this movie was not only a good choice because he has a very similar past where he fits in with this group of people, but he also represents old MCU. And so you kind of have this, not a baton passing because he's still there, obviously, but you have old MCU kind of there to shepherd the new MCU in as kind of like a way for people who've maybe skipped the past couple films or people who are just unsure about this team, like having somebody familiar there to be like, no, hey, like, they're with me. They can come into the club, basically. Like that, I thought was a good idea. And just, I love Sebastian Stan, and I love how Bucky had evolved to this trying to help in other ways. Like he tried to be a congressman. He tried to, provide help in a way that seemed more legitimate to like grow past what he had been known for. But he's literally pulling other congressmen, into rooms saying, there's no cameras here. And he's like, Jesus, dude, just read the packet and text me. And
okay. Wendell Pierce, every single line of dialogue that Wendell Pierce delivered was just so fantastic. And isn't he gonna be
he's Perry White and Superman.
He's Perry White. It made me infinitely more excited for Superman because just every single line delivery he had, I've been just saying yes so often because like why say it like that, like it was just such a fun like random thing to bring to that character who could have just been a senator number 3, whatever you want to call him, like the fact, and I just love that. I don't know why, but yeah, his dynamic too with Bucky when he's like, just read the packet, it's juicy.
Yeah,
I thought was great. And to speak I guess more on Bucky in that regard, I thought it was interesting too because he has this awful past that we know about, that we've seen. He has that relationship with John Walker, which kind of immediately gives him a little bit more of an in. So it did feel natural in that regard. And I also like the idea that if Bucky didn't have this team, if he didn't have Steve, right, to put him more on the quote unquote straight and narrow, I think that he would have been working for Julia Louis-Dreyfus. He would have been in that room being burned, in the incinerator or working for Hydra, And I think the idea of having someone that's at that level come in and basically now he is the guide, he is what they want to maybe inspire to be in a way. I thought that was a great fit because if you had someone like a actual, like Sam Wilson, Captain America coming in, I don't think it's as effective because they're just going to brush him off as a joke. But having that character with that history being like, we can do it, I thought was a great choice and addition for it.
100%. And Cudlixer has an amazing thing in the live chat talking about Florence Pugh saying best frown in the biz. Absolutely. Legendary frown. Those are hard to do. Those are hard to do convincingly. Another thing I want to kind of go into is some technical aspects of the films. Hold on, Hannah followed up with just Florence and a fucking...
Yeah.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Some of the technical aspects of it, like I thought the cinematography was really good. I liked its use of shadow, not only through the void, but also in the foreshadowing of shadow in the beginning when she's fighting in the hallway and the people she's fighting are all just like casting a certain shadow. I thought it looked very good. I liked the score a lot. I liked the music a lot in the film. And dude, the sequence where Bucky goes Terminator and comes in and takes out those trucks was fucking awesome. It was fucking awesome.
That's cinema. We didn't even talk about that during Bucky's sequence.
I know.
No, I agree with the use of the shadows. I love that you had this. I love that making the void side of Sentry actually being and talking about that call to the void
Hmm.
right? Which is a big concept to talk about. And I think that the way they were using shadows and having all that empty space, like I thought was very interesting. I like that they were showing me a lot of stuff visually in that regard.
Hmm. Um, just speaking on Bucky as well, a line that I really liked is when they fight through the void to get to Florence Pugh and Sentry.
Mhm.
And she's like, "You guys fought through all those rooms. Are you okay?" And Bucky just goes, "Yeah, no, I have a great pass, so it was fine." I thought that was really good.
Bucky
Um,
punching a meth twirling chicken was a great moment as well. And
yes.
I loved how they did that, and I love that it was Bob's maze.
Hmm.
Obviously, we followed a bit of Yelena's, just given that she, I would say, is really kind of the main character of the movie.
Yeah.
And I would say that it's equally just as much Bob Sentry's story. So I think that having that and that being a representation of his mind
Hmm.
worked really well. And we got little glimpses. Obviously, if you've watched Falcon and Winter Soldier, you know a lot about John Walker, who I'm sure we'll get to talking to in a bit.
Hmm.
And um, Red Guardian, I think, yes, he does probably have a shitty past, but he loves his country. So I'd be shocked if he didn't have any anything too maybe worth looking into. I think he
Yeah.
was just happy to be involved. And Ghost, I mean, experimented on in a lab in a child, stuff that we
And we
saw
saw a
in
lot of that in Ant-Man too. Hmm.
Ant-Man too, exactly. So I thought it was a smart choice of kind of playing it into that regard.
Yeah, it was a smart choice. I wish we could have seen more of it just because I like trippy shit like that. Yeah, like one of my favorite things about Age of Ultron is when Scarlet Witch fucks with everybody. Like I love that kind of shit. Um,
I think to me though, what it is that I think there's a very easy way to write it where they all go in together and that they all face it's like, all right, whose room is this? We got to figure it out, kind of
mhm.
thing. But I think to me that detracts from Bob's storyline, which in
Correct.
that moment and in that third act needs to be the one that is working.
Hmm.
So I thought that that was sort of the sequence of it, and I think if they all go in together, it all of them then essentially actively chose to go in and face that to rescue him. So I think
Hmm.
it just the fact that they all went into the void just sort of rounded out a lot of their arcs for me personally.
Yeah, no, 100%. Some live chats here. Dylan Stoner says, oh, and he puts a little correction, then I'll add. I wish we got an unknown memory, 30 seconds of each person in the Void Nightmare scene. That would have been very cool. I fully agree with you.
Mhm.
Um, I also think that something that the movie I thought was missing is I do think Ghost was a bit shafted. I think of all, I mean, not as much as fucking Taskmaster, but I think if you're going to talk about like which character was shafted, I think Ghost got kind of the brunt end of the stick there. But I mean, I thought Hannah John-Kamen did a good job. I thought they utilized her in a decent way, but I do think that they could have used her more, especially if we're going to go into the new Avengers movie and she's part of it. Like I would have, I don't know how much time they're going to give her in that movie, considering how stacked it is. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious from that end on how that's going to be.
I did appreciate though how she was sort of she was shafted, but she did play a pivotal role in it. Like her being in there, right? And you have Valentina making that sound barrier thing is what gave them the out. I know it's kind of all MacGuffins at this point, but then
Mm-hmm.
also she left. She didn't have to come back. So I think those little just character beats of several times her needing it. And I thought the way their fighting was utilized was really
Yeah.
well. Like I especially thought the scene of them all fighting first when they first get to that warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it gave a standout of each of them, and I thought especially when you watch Yelena throw the knife and Ghost phase through and catch it. I thought all of that was really fun. I think they did a great job using her abilities better than Ant Man,
Yeah.
as
No.
opposed to just oh she's here, she's over here. It was actually felt like a part of the fighting.
No. I agree. I agree completely. And something else too is something that I mentioned about um Captain America: Brave New World is while I don't hate the film, I think it's fine. Like they did everything they could to save it. It's just there wasn't much left to do. A big point of contention I had is yes, I know that we had Falcon and Winter Soldier to kind of go into Sam's history and all that stuff, but I got a new Captain America movie, and I don't know anything new about Captain America. Like that was kind of a whole thing for me. Where in this movie, we got a movie with Yelena, but I know a lot more about Yelena now. Hell, I know a lot more about Valentina. We got a nice flashback with her, which I was very happy with. I was like, all right, give us the villain. I want to see some of the backstory here. And so that was kind of something I was craving and missing from Captain America Brave New World. So it was nice to see it kind of be made up for here. By the way,
Well, I think that's the difference between your story being more character driven versus plot driven.
Yes, 100%. And by the way, for those who are watching and you want to catch the live roundtable tomorrow, the Wall Street Journal just did a huge story about what was going on behind the scenes with Marvel and how Kevin Feige is basically like, I'm back, bitch. Now get out of my way. And it really kind of goes through all the challenges and struggles that he had with Phase 4 and 5 from Disney investors and everything that happened. And basically, the article lays out, I'm not going to give too much of it away here because we're going to talk about it tomorrow, but something that the article laid out is he organized like an entire creative overhaul at Marvel again, like kind of like way back with Iron Man. He had to do it again. And apparently the first projects as part of that overhaul, one we knew about, Daredevil Born Again, but also Thunderbolts. And it's like, okay, F4 and Doomsday, I see you. I'm coming in hot. I'm coming in excited. So we'll talk about more about that tomorrow. But Kylix in the chat also points out, he says that he agrees with Dylan about the Void scene. With that, I agree as well. That would have been very cool to see.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, I just felt like, again, I think it served Bob's story a lot better, and I thought that was more impactful in getting that psyche more out of Yelena.
Yeah.
And I think, like, we've seen Bucky in so many things, and, you know, we got that little glimpse with John Walker with his family life.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, thinking on it more, right, I don't know what they could have showed me from Bucky, what they could have showed me from Walker, what they could have showed me from Ghost, that would have impacted or changed my perspective or, you know, made me feel a different way toward the characters than I already did at that point in the movie.
Let me clarify my stance a little bit. I like what we got, and I think ultimately what we got was the ultimate right decision. However, big physical media guy over here, if they shot anything or if they even have storyboards of what their sequence would have been, put it on the fucking Blu-ray, my guy. I want to see it. I want to see it. I want to see.
I'm
not
saying I don't want to see it. I'm just saying,
exactly,
like, I don't know if what they would have showed me would have changed anything for me the way it did with like Bob and Yelena.
No, and that's fair. I totally get that. I gotta say, I've always thought, even in Falcon and Winter Soldier, like, and you can go back to our reviews on that, everything. I did reactions to it with Hannah back during COVID, if you want to watch them. I thought that one of the best things about that show was what they did with the John Walker character and the story they were building with him, because you just fucking hated that guy, but you were supposed to. But you also saw the pressure that he was under, of where he was just a really good soldier. And they promoted him to be Captain America, and he was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to do. I don't know how I'm going to handle all this. And then he got jealous. He took that serum, and he fucked someone up in the middle of the street a little too hard. And, you know, his decision at the finale of that and where he went, and you could see that he was on the mental decline when he found Val. And you completely buy into like why he would join her and do missions for her.
She was in the post-credit scene for that show.
Yeah, she recruited him.
Just the ending, maybe.
Yeah.
And then you have Yelena with Hawkeye. Yeah. Wow, I forgot about that.
And I thought that the way they wrote him in Falcon and Winter Soldier was great. They continued with how good. I loved his journey in this film. I loved.
He was one of the ones I was most excited for on the roster when they did the announcement.
Yeah, and I'm very, very looking forward to Avengers Doomsday, where how the dynamic with him, Bucky, and Sam, like, I'm really looking forward to that. And can we also just say we got a post-credit scene that's going to get paid off that actually leads to something? What a great choice to do that. And we haven't even talked about that yet. Let's talk about the post-credit scene.
Yeah. I want to get the Walker of it, though. I do love that he was the brunt of so many jokes. Like, especially at the end when Sentry fucks them all up and they just skedaddle out of there, I thought was just a great bit. But like when they get down there and Yelena's just like, fuck you, you know, going into like such specific details, and she goes, and Walker, and he goes, oh, my turn. She goes, no, you're a piece of shit and your family knows it too. And he just goes, Jesus.
Yeah, it was great.
He's just like, all right, fuck me, I guess, for like the entire movie.
And I always loved his arrogance. So like when he's in there and they're like, "Yo, Val definitely sent us here to get killed," and he goes, "Nuh-uh, they're coming to get me," and they're like, "Fucking, really? You
Or
think that?"
even when they're or even when they do the leg thing up the elevator shaft, then
hmm
he's like, "I made a mission critical decision to ensure my own safety." Like, it was just all those little things I thought he was I thought he was a very funny character and just like, he wants to take control so bad,
Yeah.
and I thought that was a very interesting play for him learning to actually be, like, part of a team in that regard. I love the idea that the Captain America, the superhero, the glory actually doesn't come with a lot because he has
hmm
the troubled home life, and how then the mentality that that has on you, it's something that he harps on, and,
And
so I
listen,
found him to be a very interesting character
and
personally.
I think the death of Battlestar still fucks with him. I think he really feels responsible for that. But anyway, something I want to go into the chat before we get into the post-credit scene. Turniphead says, "Can we talk about how I might be going crazy because both the Superman trailer and the Fantastic Four trailer actually look good?" Oh, you're not going crazy. They look fucking awesome. Both of them look great. They look amazing.
And I mean, I think that James Gunn has a very solid resume, so that
hmm
makes me excited for Superman, just given his track record of, especially if you look at the Guardians and Suicide Squad again
hmm
comparatively, they work better because I found them to be more character driven stories than plot story focused stories.
Yeah.
So I think that having that idea of being able to go into Superman in that regard is great. And Fantastic Four, I mean, they have oh my god, why am I blanking on the name right
Matt
now?
Shackman.
Matt Shackman, who did WandaVision, and a lot of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia behind.
Yep. Yep.
But I think that it was a great choice because WandaVision, for a lot of like people that were maybe getting off the Marvel train, I thought it was a great like hold the phone. What are they doing? Let's look at this.
Listen,
This looks different. This looks
everyone
interesting.
who left the Marvel train did not leave because of WandaVision. Everyone loved WandaVision. And
Exactly. No. So I think having a fantastic him doing Fantastic Four and having it actually look like something visually different from Marvel and also visually different from the other versions of like this had to be so distinct from the other ones. Like you had to make it look so different. Otherwise, people were not going to be on board. It already has an uphill battle going in against it.
no, yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Let's get into the post-credit scene. So, first of all, the joke one with Red Guardian was great at the grocery store in the Wheaties box. Loved it. The actual post-credit scene, we actually have new details of. The Russo brothers shot that on the set of Doomsday back when they'd got it finished building it. And Jake
And
Schreier,
that's why it looks like that.
Jake Schreier, the director, actually got to go watch them do it, which he said was fun. But I like the dynamic of the scene. I like that they're the whole thing they're setting up with like the new Avengers and the actual Avengers and who's right. David Harbour with the Z, the Avengers with the Z. I hope they better make fucking shirts. I want one. But of course, you get hype when there's a interdimensional ship coming in from the atmosphere. They look at it and it's the Fantastic Four ship, and the song plays. Which, by the way, already a contender for best score of the year. I think the new Fantastic Four song. But I'm gonna throw a theory at you here. What if in that ship it is not the Fantastic Four coming to Earth? What if that's Doctor Doom, baby? What if we watch
Ooh.
Fantastic Four and Doom is in it and they're all fucking off because Galactus is destroying the world and we see Doom get into that ship and take off? Do you know how hype everyone will be? Like, especially if the post-credit scene of Fantastic Four is that ship landing and
Yeah.
like some of the people come out to see who it is and it's fucking Doom. That'd be insane. Be insane.
Well, I think that that's part of the interest of it because I saw a lot of people online just saying like, "Oh, well, they spoiled the ending of Fantastic Four." I don't think they did
No, they
because
didn't.
you don't know who's on that ship. Now, if it is all
No.
four of them, then maybe there's that argument. I mean, technically, they spoiled Thunderbolts by putting their names on the back of chairs with the Doomsday announcement. But if that's where we're heading and it wasn't, a big deal, whatever be it. Um, but it could be Doom. It could be some of them, as we saw from the main Fantastic Four trailer that was just released. Sue's pregnant. So
Yeah.
maybe the shit's hitting the fan and reads like Sue, Ben,
They
look
pull a
after her, get on that ship,
no, they
and they
pull a
split them
Superman
up.
and they just send the kid.
Yeah. I feel like there's so many possibilities, and that's how they tie into it. I don't think it necessarily is just the four of them. I mean, it very well could be,
Mhm.
but Doom could be an interesting one. I feel like the Fantastic Four post credit scene is then going to be like maybe setting up that interaction, right? Like maybe they also shot the new Avengers
Mm-hmm.
interacting with, you know,
Yeah.
whatever be it, or maybe one or two of them. But I mean, I don't think it spoiled anything for me personally because we still don't know what's happening there.
Yeah, dude, for all we know, they go to 616 halfway through the movie. We don't know.
Yeah,
We don't
yeah,
know.
no, that's true.
Um, I think I blew Morgan's mind with that theory, hence the emoji she put in the live chat. Thank you for that, Morgan.
She just wants to see Robert Downey Jr. again.
Very true, very true. Something else I want to point out about Thunderbolts is Marvel in this new creative overhaul, you can tell that they're learning from some past mistakes, because a big mistake that they made was not giving Black Widow a solo project while she was an active hero. They did it till after she fucking died. And then in that movie, they made it mostly just a catalyst for the new Black Widow to be introduced. It was a whole thing. But for all intents and purposes, Yelena is the new Black Widow. That's where we're at. I would argue that she's the lead of this film, which means after 2 appearances, the new Black Widow already got a movie. And it's like, thank you. Thank you for giving us the Black Widow movie. Like, that's what we wanted. If
you're going to give me an Avengers, new Avengers, I want a movie with the new Avengers.
Correct. Absolutely. Hold on, Morgan adds in the live chat. True, do you also think Doomsday will be like Civil War with this new Avengers stuff? I don't think it'll be to that level, but I definitely think there's going to be some fucking tension. And I think a lot of that tension, because like I think just from the names they announced, like Shang-Chi is going to be on Sam Wilson's team. And I would love a sequence where like Shang-Chi's like, yo, we're on the Avengers. And then they go to the Avengers headquarters and there's like a new Avengers. And it's like, oh, but I thought I was an Avenger. Like, and it just becomes a whole thing. That'd be exceptionally funny.
I think there's a lot of different ways they could take that story with it, especially them being split, the dynamic between Bucky and Sam. But ultimately, I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to be about saving the greater good, right? They're all going to have to play nice to actually do that. But I think the idea of them having to play nice and still having that, like, especially with how the Thunderbolts interact from the start, it was like, wait, do we need to get along just to get our asses saved, but we don't have to be nice to each other while doing it. And I think that could be lead to a lot of interesting dynamics in Doomsday. But they could also take the Infinity War approach, where we're kind of watching different stories happening at different times. Like maybe Sam's on and his Avengers team are on a different mission, while the Thunderbolts, new Avengers, are doing something different. I mean, the Guardians were separate for a good chunk of Infinity War.
Yeah.
So I think that's something to consider, as well as maybe we're just going to be watching 2 different storylines that will ultimately converge in Secret Wars in some way.
Yeah, probably. Hannah adds in the live chat, wait, question, does Bob have powers at the end? Is he just hanging out with the new Avengers, or does he have any powers from the Void? So, good question. Yes, he is still the Sentry, but if he brings out the Sentry, if he triggers his powers, he can't control the Void coming back too. So it's basically, if he's going to power up as Sentry, he also has to, the Void's coming in. And I think that's going to be part of Doom's plan, is he wants the Void to come out. He wants to use Sentry to his advantage. Like that's, that could be part of the plan. And if it's not part of the plan, when he realizes what he's capable of, it's going to be a thing. I think they could do, I'm getting nerd sweaty here, but I think they're going to use Sentry, how they use Molecule Man in the Secret Wars comic run, which I think is the second Secret Wars, the 2015 Hickman run. I think that's the one with Molecule Man. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I think that's how they're going to use him, where like he's a catalyst of like a really important event, and they're going to keep him like kidnapped. Like I think Doom's been kidnapped Sentry, probably.
I have some thoughts if you wanted to.
Let me do the live chat really quick. Be Positive 99 says Thunderbolts is the new Mutants from 2020. Here, listen, that movie gets shit on a lot. I don't think it's that horrible. And listen, is it a great movie? No, it's not. But I like it more than Dark Phoenix. I like it more than The Last Stand. I didn't think it was the worst X-Men movie by far. It had some good stuff in it. Anya Taylor-Joy was fantastic, and the end fight was awesome. It has some bad shit in it too. Don't get me wrong. There's some stuff it doesn't do well. I hate New Mutants.
All the behind-the-scenes horror stories and production delays of that movie. I think that what we got was fine.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see what was happening beforehand, and that's the thing. I wish we could see like what the plan was, and then see like, oh, we dodged a bullet, or what the fuck were you doing?
Yeah, because like
Um,
there were even reshoots they were going to do and they didn't get to because Disney bought them at that time. But anyway,
there were
go.
also just new characters as well. Like, wasn't
Yeah,
Mister Sinister supposed to be in that
at
for
some point.
like a hot minute? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's crazy to hear that those behind the scenes things.
Hmm.
What I was gonna say was about Sentry. I wonder if they'll use him as a, you know, is Sentry a character that they have long term plans for, or can they use that as an in to the Doom storyline, where they can almost sort of use Void as, a step in for the audience, where Doom gets stuck in the void, and we kind of get a quick run through of Doom's backstory, and those little like nuggets of his story information, and ultimately Doom sort of overcoming that and killing the Sentry in a way to like, because I think the famous Doom introduction
Dude.
is God Emperor Doom, and he
Yes.
rips like the skull off of the skeleton out of Thanos, right? And
Mhm.
it's like, I'm all powerful. Well, they just introduced the all powerful character, so maybe
Mhm.
that serves the dual purpose of, okay, we get Doom's backstory a little bit to introduce us, and he kills Sentry. Oh shit, what the hell? And then maybe that's the catalyst. Maybe Doom is on the rocket. The
Mhm.
new Avengers show up with Sentry. Sentry gets capped immediately, and then Bucky's like, "All right, we need everyone, all hands
Mhm.
on deck." Yeah, and maybe that's sort of the catalyst for the story, is like the death of Sentry.
And it's similar to like have Thanos beat the shit out of the Hulk right away, so people know how dangerous he is.
Exactly, and I think that was the purpose of God Emperor Doom in the comics, right?
Yes.
It's like he
Yes.
killed Thanos. Like, oh,
Mhm.
there's always bigger fish. It's Ultron ripping the younger Ultron
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
half.
Also, dude, let's talk about the costumes at the end. Dude, Bucky's outfit. Oh my god. Looks so good. Ghost
Got
outfit.
a
All
he
their
got the
outfits.
he got the Dyson curler, whatever be it.
Yes.
The
Yes.
Dyson Airblade,
Oh.
that's the word.
So.
No, I love that design. I wasn't sold on US Agent's beret, but I like that, there's 3 super soldiers on that team, and they cannot flatten his shield.
Mhm.
Like, I think that was a funny bit that he still has that.
Yeah.
So I thought the outfits were great.
Yeah. Dylan Stoner adds, "Can't wait for not Tony Stark to execute Sentry in front of Spidey. Shit, it's gonna it's gonna be something." Joe Block says, "Did Matt Pat cameo? I can't tell if this is a joke or not, but from what I understand, no, he did not." Hannah Heiler adds, "Costumes great, Bucky's wig atrocious." Oh, I liked Bucky's wig. I liked Bucky's wig. I thought it looked interesting for sure, to say the least. Also, Nick, fun fact. Do you know who the cinematographer is on Doomsday?
I do not.
It's the guy who shot Drive and Days of Future Past.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hell yeah is right.
Hell yeah, indeed.
I can't wait. Listen, they're doing their job and getting people excited for the Avengers again. I think they're doing a really good job, and I think Fantastic Four is gonna help that.
I agree.
What I want to know is, in New York City, what the fuck did Spider-Man and Daredevil and the Punisher see in the void? Did the Punisher just watch his family die over and over again? Did Spidey just go through Mysterio's illusions again?
I like to
Daredevil
imagine
has
that
so much.
Daredevil's was just completely pitch black. Daredevil's life is a void. What are you talking about?
Daredevil's void was he also lost his hearing. Oh. Yes.
So I was doing some quick research online. I guess Matt Pat is a sort of internet personality.
Yeah, because wasn't he in the Five Nights at Freddy's movie?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess he was at the red carpet, and there's a guy in it that looks like him. It's the guy that Yelena has like gagged.
Okay.
Thing.
But you can confirm it's not him.
I don't. Well, all I cannot. He did tweet like from the red carpet, and then said, "Oh, also it helps that apparently I'm in it!" Exclamation point, question mark. I mean, this guy definitely looks like me, and I was at the red carpet after all. But that's just a theory.
Oh, and that's his catchphrase. So that's okay.
I assume it does look like him. So
it could
it's
be
quite possible.
It's possible. Joe Blocks also adds, "Do you think if there's a sequel to this movie, it will be called The New Avengers?" That's a good theory, and I think it could be. However, I don't know if there'll be a specific sequel to this movie because I think a lot of their story is going to play out over Doomsday and Secret Wars. But if they're alive by the end of those movies, that's possible. And I think New Avengers could be a title, but I also think by the end of Doomsday, or the end of Secret Wars, I should say, by the end of that story, they're all just going to be one Avengers team, both the Thunderbolts and the team that Sam's putting together.
I think that this movie is going to be called The New Avengers before it even leaves theaters.
Listen, it would be cool. I don't think so. I think
I subscribe to the theory. I saw someone say on Twitter that when they do like the Steelbook or the Blu-rays, it should have a slipcover that says Thunderbolts, and when you lift it up, the actual hard case says The New Avengers.
That would be sick as fuck.
I think that'd be fun. But I don't know if this is getting a sequel anytime soon, unless it really overperforms.
Yeah.
I think that's something that people want.
I want a DVD commentary, but it's just David Harbour as the Red Guardian the whole time.
We basically got the movie commentary from him, though. He goes, "Oh my God, the Winter Soldier."
Yeah.
That guy's so cool. That's basically what his commentary would be.
The whole time, yes. Like, when it gets to his scene, he'd be like, my apartment's actually not that bad. This is a bad representation.
I keep it clean.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, I mean, overall, I as anyone knows who watched our main review and this live stream, like, I really enjoyed the movie. I'm looking forward to more. Joe Blocks also adds, they already started rebuilding the billboards for Thunderbolts poster to say New Avengers, so it might happen. I did see that. They took some of the billboards, like he's saying, or they're saying, sorry, I don't want to assume, and they kind of started to almost look like it was ripped to reveal like the New Avengers almost. Yeah. And I think that's great marketing. It's great marketing, especially if you want people to go see your movie. Now,
I think they'll get a new wave. Everyone that wanted to go see this movie immediately, the real Marvel heads, get that delightful surprise. But if they're trying to get some general audience members, and
to get my mom to go see it,
for the New Avengers, you're like, oh, hold on. So I think they'll get a nice little wave from that.
I think so too. And now here's what I will say: if they do the renaming, I will definitely go again and buy a ticket. So I have two tickets: one that says Thunderbolts and one that says New Avengers. I will absolutely do that, of course. That'd be amazing.
I think the title will just be in marketing only.
I think so too. Yeah.
Because there's so much copyright. I don't know if you could copyright two names on a movie.
Mm-hmm. By the way, the people who constantly check copyright patents are the real heroes of the internet. Because when I was waiting in line for Hall H last year, like someone reported, like, "Hey, Marvel just filed a patent for Avengers Doomsday." And it's like, man, that's so good. Like, that's how you get them. That's how you find out and get them.
That early.
Yep.
I like when they buy a bunch. Like, there were like 8 different Spider-Man patents just to try to throw you off. Like, what could it be? Yeah.
And like, I'm sure when you got Sony money too, you're like, fuck it, get all of them. We'll just change the title later.
Get Spider-Man freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, senior year. That's fine.
Yeah, why not? But man, do you have anything else you want to add about Thunderbolts before we wrap it up?
No, just I've been sticking it with Marvel. I love these movies. I love the franchise. I think it's been testing some patience as of late, and I'm glad to hear this news of the creative overhaul. I didn't see that article, so I need to read that more in depth. But I think that Marvel needed a win, and I don't think that Thunderbolts is a home run necessarily, but I think we hit a solid triple with this, and I thought that was great to see, and I think it's getting people excited again, which is great to see. I think there's a lot of hype coming out of this movie, especially now going into Fantastic Four, and they really need this momentum build to get us into Doomsday, and I think it's a step in the right direction, and we are just coming off a great season of TV with Daredevil Born Again. And apparently next month we have Ironheart.
Yeah.
So hopefully, we get a marketing push for that soon.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I'll say this, sometimes triples are harder to hit than home runs because you got to be fast as fuck to get to that third base. And that is hard as hell. Joe Blocks also adds, I get why they didn't advertise it from the start as them being the New Avengers because this isn't exactly the Avengers tone. 100%. And it's a weird thing to throw off new viewers to say, you just brought it up, so Marvel doesn't want to disappoint people or make it seem like a big Avengers film. Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say, is you don't want people who've checked out of the MCU to suddenly be like, oh, there's a new Avengers and it's fucking these guys? Like, no. Like
Well,
that's
even just for
it's
the
an excellent point.
casual even for the casual fans that kinda just
Hmm.
casually keep up on it, that maybe haven't watched some of the television shows or
Yeah.
anything, like, I don't know who any of these people are,
Hmm.
and I don't think I care to do I don't think I care to go back and watch.
Yeah. So we got. I know we have Ironheart in June. We have Fantastic Four in July. I believe we have Eyes of Wakanda in August, which I'm
That's
really
a
looking forward
that's
to.
animated, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to that. And that is MCU though. That's 616 from what I understand.
Mm.
Eyes of Wakanda, and then in the fall, I don't think I'm missing anything else. In the fall we have Wonder Man, which I'm really excited about.
I forgot that was happening.
I think it's just I think Wonder Man's the last thing. I could be forgetting something about what else comes out this year. Oh, last thing, and then we'll go, I promise. You know what I'm pissed off about? That no one in these press junkets for Thunderbolts, which, by the way, if we were in there, Nick, somehow, I would have asked it. When they announced the phases, I'm obsessed with this. When they announced the phases a while ago, they said that Thunderbolts was the last movie of Phase 5, and that Fantastic Four was the first movie of Phase 6. However, Fantastic Four comes out 2 months after Thunderbolts. You're telling me if a new phase happens in 2 months? I don't buy it. I need someone to ask Kevin directly, are we in Phase 5 still, or are we in Phase 6 now? I need someone to ask him for my sanity so that we can make a video where we rank Phase 5. I need the comfort. This doesn't matter at all, by the way.
Do we have to
but
wait for Fantastic Four to do it, or can we do this next week to get excited for Fantastic
I need the mental gymnastics to end and just tell me what's going on. That's what I need. All right, Joe Blocks follows up, and also if casual fans heard about Doomsday and Secret Wars, if Thunderbolts was called the New Avengers, they might not go because then they think that the Avengers team in those movies is going to be these. Yep, again, exactly what we were saying too. I agree with you. But guys, I think that'll do it for the spoiler discussion here. Thank you so much for everyone who joined us and for who chatted in and sent in questions. We love making you part of the community. We love doing the discussions. Come back for the next one. We have an episode of the Movie Nights Roundtable live tomorrow night at around 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll put it up as soon as we can. Nick, do you want to add anything else before we go?
No, as always, you can find links to our social media channels below, and when we do the live show, you'll also find the links to the articles that we're going to be talking about. And if you like what we said, please, like and subscribe. We love to build and grow this community. And if you haven't checked it out already, we have a bunch of movie reviews that just came out on the channel as well, including our Thunderbolts one. If you want to hear our initial high-level thoughts, see what changed, and yeah.
Yeah, we're this close from 5K subs, so help us get there. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.